Heads up, this video has explicit content.
Here's Johnny.
It would be crazy if Stephen King was convicted of murder for all the horrific stuff he's put up on the big screen.
It sounds unreal, but it's actually happening. But not to screenwriters or your favorite pop and country stars. To hip-hop artists, on the regular.
Take Drakeo the Ruler, LA rapper who was in jail for almost 3 years because of a case involving gang conspiracy. The state used lyrics from Drakeo's song Flex Freestyle as evidence to prove that he was in a gang and keep him in jail.
This is only one of hundreds of cases of lyrics being used to put rappers behind bars. It's weak evidence and lazy prosecution. And you know what? It's only happening in hip-hop. This is Louder Than a Riot. Lyrics on trial.
We're talking about detectives using rap lyrics to zero in on
The
suspects.
rap song that you sang way back then, where they say, everybody saw me when choking, but nobody saw me when I smoking.
What did that got to do with any murder that you just threw at?
We're talking about investigators making a case that lyrics themselves can be a crime.
So, rap lyrics as evidence?
Murder in the first degree. Prosecutors have hung their hopes of a conviction against a Baton Rouge rapper. Are his lyrics?
We're talking about prosecutors playing up racial stereotypes in courtrooms and using rap music to do it.
Who many of us know as Lil Boosie.
And it's really successful, resulting in convictions and in several cases, some long sentences. And it's happening more than you think. Not just to big-name rappers, but more often to amateurs, whether they're spitting on the block or on the ground.
So why is it happening? Why is it successful? And why is it so dangerous?
Although a new form of criminalizing black art, its use of rap lyrics is evidence, and it's the continuation of a centuries-old dynamic. From enslavers outlawing the drum to the government policing of early blues and jazz.
Historically, black folks weren't meant to be citizens of this country. So if I'm not a citizen of the country, I'm an enemy of the country. If I'm an enemy of the country living in it, what do? I criminalize it.
From Jim Crow up through the civil rights era of the 60s and 70s. You see the federal government surveilling and harassing some of the most influential black artists of the time.
The revolution will not be televised.
Yeah, we think of their words and music now as iconic American history. But at the time, the feds viewed a lot of it as terrorist activity and cracked down.
A generation later, history would repeat itself when early hip-hop artists began documenting what Reagan's war on drugs was doing to their world.
Don't push me, 'cause I'm close to the edge.
Crumbling infrastructures, aggressive policing, and mass incarceration. The message was getting louder, bolder, and more brazen.
I'm going for that steal. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground.
Police swoop by the time the boys was near me. 5-0 and get a dope case of blunt. Happy on America's most want.
Well, I escaped prison.
Instead of blaming the conditions in the inner cities that created violence and drug warfare, the authorities blamed gangsta rap.
Welcome back to Tupac Shakur in his own words.
But as Tupac put it, the anger expressed in gangsta rap was a reaction to all the structural violence that generations of black folk had struggled through.
We was asking with the Panthers. We was asking with them, with civil rights movement. We was asking, now those people that were asking, they're all dead and in jail. So now what do you think we're gonna do?
This kicked off a political obsession with hip-hop and indecency. From the mid-90s all the way up to the early 2000s, Congress held hearings targeting rap and its explicit lyrics.
Our second witness is Mr. Percy Miller, also known as Master P, the founder and CEO of No Limit Records.
My whole goals for being here is to preserve hip-hop.
So with history like that, it's probably no surprise that prosecutors started using rap as evidence of actual crimes. That's something Master P knows all too well.
In 2001, the state of Louisiana used lyrics in the murder trial against Mac Phipps, one of the rising stars on Master P's No Limit Records label.
Mac was probably one of the best artists ever came to No Limit. And This guy, for us, was like our down south Nas.
That is until he was charged with killing a young fan at a show. In hindsight, the case against Mac was flawed. First, there was no murder weapon or physical evidence. Second, another man confessed to the crime. But prosecutors discredited him. And one of the eyewitnesses recanted their testimony years later.
So the crux of the state's argument rested on two things: Mac's lyrics and his persona. Here's a voice actor reading the prosecutor's opening statement.
Murder, murder, kill, kill, pull the trigger, put a bullet in your head. Those are some of the lyrics that this defendant chooses to rap when he performs. This is the self-proclaimed camouflaged assassin.
Murder, murder, kill, kill. That's from the song of the same name. But the second half of the line that the prosecution quoted, that's from a completely different song by Mac called Shell Shocked.
And the lyrics quoted from Shell Shocked, they're not even about Mac. It's about Mac's dad, McKinley Phipps Sr.
Yeah, but peep this. The prosecution even changed the lyrics to make them sound more self-incriminating. See, Mac never actually raps the words, "You fuck with me, you get a bullet in your brain." In fact, the prosecutor switches up the whole context. Take a listen.
Big Mac, that's my daddy, riding dirty. Straight up soldier, you heard me? Ain't no
That's my dad. See, he's personifying his father's experiences as Vietnam vet.
And then, 10 seconds later,
You fuck with me, he give you a bullet in your brain.
You fuck with me, he'll give you a bullet in your brain. This is how prosecutors manipulated the music and Mac's persona. They told the jury exactly how to interpret the lyrics, not as a personification of his dad's experience, but as a first-person criminal confession.
When you talk about assassin, we're talking about verbal assassin. We're talking about how he killed people with his lyrics. And I think the system mixed that up with what he is as an entertainer.
Mac was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 30 years in prison.
Law enforcement officers and prosecutors and judges and ultimately jurors are taking an unsophisticated view of these cultural expressions. They are failing to acknowledge that there are poetic devices that are deployed even by amateur rappers when fashioning these lyrics. And so again, whether that's metaphor or hyperbole or imagery or braggadocio or storytelling, they are failing to recognize that.
Nah, picture me rolling, tip of my chauffeur. Niggas look jealous. You gotta control it.
Research has shown that people react to rap lyrics differently than lyrics from other genres. The reason why? Implicit racial bias.
I mean, there is a growing body of empirical work related to this. And just to give one example.
Take this study by Professor Carrie Fried back in the 90s when she was still a grad student.
In which she took lyrics to, I think it was a folk song by a Kingston Trio.
The Kingston Trio, a nerdy-looking group of white guys in the 60s who had a hit with the song Bad Man's Blunder.
Rolling around, I was feeling kind of mean. I shot the deputy down.
From verse 1, Carrie typed out the lyrics, including the line, "I shot a deputy down." She made a ton of copies of the lyrics to conduct her study. And on one half, she wrote, "This is a country song." On the other stack, "This is a rap song."
The group that believed that the lyrics came from a rap song found them to be significantly more threatening and in need of regulation than the exact same lyrics that were characterized as country.
Again, it sounds too absurd to be real, but it is. And it has dangerous, racist implications and serious consequences, especially when a jury is asked to interpret the meaning of rap lyrics.
It becomes dangerous because many of the tropes in gangsta rap, especially for a jury that's not informed about the genre itself, they map perfectly to enduring stereotypes that many people have about the inherent criminality of young men of color, particularly African American and Latino men. And so the question is, when you introduce these lyrics, to what extent does the defendant really have a shot at a fair trial? Because if the evidence isn't there and we're still seeing convictions, we know that something is happening that should not be.
Decades ago, it was not uncommon for racist rhetoric to be used in the courtroom, that individual defendants might be called the N-word or might be referred to as apes or monkeys or other sort of types of scary beasts.
But now, prosecutors use more subtle, covert tactics.
But what we saw then was a transformation to racial imagery. So not necessarily directly using epithets against a particular individual in a case, but then efforts, though, to still paint Black defendants as dangerous and violent. We see the use of rap lyrics as criminal evidence is simply a more modern manifestation of that now abolished tactic.
Now, hip-hop's definitely not the first genre to ignite a moral panic. There was a huge backlash to heavy metal back in the 80s and 90s. But rap is the only genre of music that's routinely used to prosecute artists in criminal cases.
Eric and Andrea have created the only database tracking this pattern.
We've identified at least 500 instances in which lyrics have been used either to investigate or charge or ultimately prosecute, and in some instances, even fashion a sentence for an individual.
Now, lyrics enter criminal cases in numerous ways. If it started with cases like Mac Phipps, where lyrics are used to establish motive or character, it's totally evolved now. Lyrics themselves can actually be the crime.
That debate was elevated to the highest court in the land this week. Pittsburgh rapper Jamal Knox, stage name Mayhem Mal, in prison for lyrics threatening two police officers in a 2012 song.
You dirty bitches won't keep knocking my riches. This ghetto superstar committee ain't with it. Fuck the police.
Sound familiar?
Fuck the police. You dirty.
They also reference Dr. Dre on the track. So if you know, you know. This is a throwback to the NWA classic. Now, in full, you can hear the song deals with a lot of the same themes of police brutality and harassment.
Arguing for First Amendment rights, Mayhem Mal attempted to take his case all the way to the Supreme Court.
And big names in hip-hop, from Chance the Rapper to 21 Savage, joined in to support him, penning a legal brief that laid out how the conviction takes Mayhem Mal's words out of context. But the Supreme Court declined to hear the case. And this use of lyrics as threats in order to put people behind bars, it continues. Some rappers are even starting to talk about it in their music. Like, let's go back to Drakeo. While locked up, he recorded and released this song, Fictional, from his mixtape, Thank You for Using GTL. Keep the hook.
It might sound real, but it's fictional. I love them imagination gets to you.
Draco's calling out prosecutors who are using his raps against him. Now, Drakeo got out on a plea deal in November 2020. But his lawyer credits his release on a changing of the guard in LA County that brought in a new reform-minded DA, one who doesn't support these types of cases.
The first Black woman to be district attorney in Los Angeles admitted she had been outspent and politically outsmarted by progressive newcomer George Gascon.
That's why Eric says it's important to press elected officials to take a stand against this use of rap lyrics as evidence. But even with progress, bad precedents continue to be set. This issue is still being battled out in courts across the country. And a month after Drakeo got out, Maryland's Supreme Court ruled in a monumental case that rap lyrics can be used as evidence in their state.
As we talked about in our podcast, the criminalization of hip-hop is a microcosm for the criminalization of Black and Brown America.
Yeah, not even Stephen King could pen a story that horrific. But here's a plot twist.
All right, Mr. Phipps, you're here this morning, and before the pardon board, you're asking for clemency. You're asking for a commutation of your sentence.
After serving 20 years on a 30-year sentence, former No Limit soldier Mac Phipps actually got a new shot at freedom in 2021.
So on your behalf, we'll make the recommendation to Governor Edwards that your sentence be commuted and that you be immediately parole eligible. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you all, and thank you all for this opportunity.
All right.
Good luck to you.
His case went before the Louisiana Board of Pardons and Parole, and it recommended that the governor commute his sentence. So his future is in the hands of Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards.
Today, we'll adjourn from there. It's 11:17.
But even with his potential release, it still feels bittersweet. That's because Mac's parole eligibility has nothing to do with his claims of innocence or the fact that his lyrics were used against him.
To learn more about the intersection of hip-hop and mass incarceration, check out our podcast, Louder Than a Riot. Available now wherever you subscribe to podcasts.